Hi everybody, hi Itamar. Welcome to another video of GOT Academy, and today we're going to talk about Ned Stark, the former Lord of Winterfell and Warden of the North for King Robert S. Baratheon. So Ned, he's a very popular character, one of the most popular characters in the story, even though he has been dead since 1996.
Right.
Then he rose back to life on TV and died again.
He's the first character that we, as readers and watchers, identified with.
Right.
Like he was the main. We got the
Protagonist.
sense that he's the main protagonist of the story.
Right.
And everything that was like a part of the Game of the Thrones in the first book and the season revolved around Ned. He was like
Right.
probably the only player in the Game of Thrones that we had a point of view of in King's
Right.
Landing. Because
Right.
other than that, yeah, we had Arya and Sansa and
Right.
Caitlyn for a little bit.
And we really liked, like from the beginning, we liked Jon and Tyrion and Bran, but they were on some long journeys that did not pay off in the first book, the first season. So he was the guy.
He introduced us to the game.
Let's get back to the feeling that we had when we first read the book and watched the first season. It wasn't a first season and a first book of 5, 7, whatever. It was the story.
This was the story.
So he was the center of the story. But in spite of that, he's different from other characters.
He's a character from a different story.
Like a brother from another mother?
Exactly the opposite. He's a noble man, not only because of his social status, but he's truly noble,
right?
Honorable.
Right.
He loves his wife, even after 20 years, 30 years, he still loves his wife.
And even though his wife was supposed to marry his brother.
And even though his wife is very annoying, he still loves her.
That's sexist.
He loves his children, and they adore their father.
Right.
They adore Ned.
Right.
And he's like...
he's a simple guy.
He's a simple guy, tells it like it is, you know.
Right, straightforward, keeping it real.
Yeah. And because we identified with him and the way he told the story of the Game of Thrones through his eyes, we disliked the Lannisters.
Evil, maligning, unknoble
Unnoble, disrespectful, no
smug.
honor, cynical people. And
they fuck within the family.
Yeah. Like he had this visceral hatred towards Jaime because of... when he came to the throne after Aerys was murdered, Jaime was sitting there and he was like all smug. He was like probably very shocked, you know. He was 20 or 20 something, you know.
Right. Just killed the king.
Just killed the king, you know. Just disavowed his oath, you know.
Right. Okay. And Ned.
And Ned is like, "What are you doing? You killed the king. You are oathbreaker. I hate you now."
Even though this king murdered his dad and his brother.
Really cruel, like in a cruel way. Yeah.
So he was kind of a square.
He was kind of square and a self-righteous prick.
Also, and he was also mad at Robert for the Targaryen babies and family being slain, and for wanting to kill Daenerys. So basically, okay, we poke fun at him now, but this goes to show that he's a truly honorable person in an unhonorable world, in an unhonorable story.
When you go back and read Ned's story after you know the end of it, you know, so it's really like when first you read it, so you like, yeah, okay, you should do it, you know.
Right,
like, go get him,
I know this story about this honorable hero.
Yeah,
he
this guy, I can't wait for Ned to, you know, fight with Jaime, and, you know, it will be like scratched and bloodied, and in the middle, spiked Jaime, like,
this is for breaking your oath.
This is for my son.
Okay, no, I'm not sure this is how I imagined it, but okay.
But when you reread it, you can really like say, this is the Marshal Foley of Ned and the Starks.
Okay.
And Marshal Foley is a famous book by Barbara Tuchman, or Tuchman, Barbara Tuchman. Tuchman. Marshal Foley is like a series of events that you had an alternative during the time that these events occurred.
So live in real time, you had other options. You didn't have to do what you did that eventually led to some kind of downfall.
And another thing, that you had warnings. There were people back then that warned of the consequences by the future actions, the Foley.
For example?
The Britain losing the American colonies. Okay. So in retrospect, you can say, yeah, it's like two brothers, different brothers, the English people and the Americans, it's like, and they cannot agree and stuff like that. But you had people back there, like Edmund Burke, for example, who was a parliament member, that really shouted and say, no, this is folly. You will make them leave us, and we will not be able to take them back again, and they will be, they will
number one superpower in the world.
Exactly, they will divorce us, and we lose all the colonies. And for what? Give them rights. No taxation without representation. Give them representation.
Okay, so the Marshal Foley here about Ned starts basically when he learns that Robert Baratheon's sons and daughter are not really his, but born out of incest between Jaime and Cersei. And at that time, he was the hand of the king. He owed loyalty to the king. He swore an oath to be loyal to the king. But instead of telling Robert of all of this, he chose to do something else and tell Cersei that he knew, kind of maybe breaking his own oath to Robert. I don't know. Yeah. And then after Robert died, it was even crazier how he didn't do nothing of what he was supposed to do.
He had a golden opportunity to finish the game like that. Just give a command to the gold cloaks or to your own personal staff or something like that. Isolate the king, put guards next to his room.
Kill his mother.
Kill his mother or arrest her and put them together, all the family. They will not be able to go out. They're secured. We're waiting for Robert to come back. And
and even after Robert died, he could have done that because he had a sealed decree of the king that he is the protector of the realm. So then he would have had time to prove that Joffrey is not really the king. And then Renly is here with Littlefinger.
Yeah, and he was warned. He was warned more than once.
Right.
Littlefinger told him.
And then Littlefinger also actually was kind of peeved at him that he was being unreasonable by supporting Stannis. He told him, you can't support Stannis, you have to support Renly. You have my support. Like this was his plan A.
Littlefinger told him, you should take it for yourself or something like that.
Right. Yeah. And then Renly came in and
warned him.
And when you reread it, you think to yourself, what was he thinking? Of course he's going to lose because everybody tells him, if you're not going to do this, it's over. Renly leaves, and then he didn't even give Littlefinger a reason to support him. Littlefinger told him, if you support Stannis, you're going against me. He said, this is the law, so are you with me? Yes. And like, oh yeah. It's absolutely incredible in reread how much he didn't understand anything.
A true Marshal of Foley. He had other alternatives. He was warned by the consequences of his actions or lack of actions, and he spilled out his plan to his enemy. Like, I know you're a criminal and you're a traitor and stuff like that.
He gave away all his cards.
All his cards, and she told him in the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die, and he was like, yeah.
So since then, he paid the price with his life, his daughters, his house,
his son,
his friends. The realm has paid a hefty price because of his mistakes. Now, in the season finale of season 6, Sansa tells Jon, only a fool would trust Littlefinger. Yeah. So that's like a harsh criticism about her father. She doesn't know maybe that Ned trusted him, but
no, she don't know.
But this is like the story tells us. Ned was a fool.
Right. Basically, his political education was being a commander, a general. And politically, being a general, it's very easy. You're like the
top dog.
You're like the dictator of your own unit. Right. You give orders, they execute. They don't execute, you kill them.
And in battle, you don't have time to ask questions. There's an order, carry it out, that's it. Ask questions later.
This is political education. And he was not able to adapt to a different game. He thought he was playing a different game. Like we thought, we are reading a different story. That reminds me, let's say, of Ehud Barak.
Ehud Barak, former Israeli prime minister.
Yeah, or
former chief of staff, super general, super soldier.
He finished his military service being a chief of staff, like the top general of the army, and 4 years later, he was already a prime minister.
And he won in a landslide.
In a landslide.
Who did he beat?
At least in my view, he's the worst prime minister ever to ever serve in Israel, and not because he's not stupid. He's very smart, very analytical,
but very stupid.
But stupid politically, because he thought he played the military game. No, he was used to giving out orders. He was used to this hierarchy.
Right, and doesn't have to concern himself about the feelings of other politicians. So that's a very stupid way to play the game.
He didn't feel compelled to explain himself, not to the public, not to his fellow cabinet ministers. And he was like, yeah, I know everything because I'm at the top. And this is what I'm used to. And I'm usually right, even though he's not. And it, like a year and a half later, he went to another elections. And
he lost.
And lost. It was like the shortest.
And he lost in a landslide, even bigger than the one that he won. And since
to a different ex-general who was a political player, a really smart political player.
Okay. You have a more global historical example of a general turned politician?
Maybe Ulysses S. Grant is also a similar example. Like he basically won the Civil War, fighting for Lincoln, for the North. A few years after the Civil War, he became a president, and he's still considered to be like one of the worst presidents in American history. He didn't do much. They say he was drunk a lot of the time or something like that. Okay. So there is like a big difference between being a great general, great soldier, and being a politician. It's a different game.
So we didn't understand that at the time that we read the first book and watched the first season. When Ned died, that was an incredible shock.
Yeah.
We didn't see it coming at all.
Yeah. He, with a capital H, wanted to tell us, this is a realistic story. You have this noble guy, Ned, gets a job, like the most important job in the realm, in a very complicated political situation in King's Landing, with a lot of factions, and
moving parts, and you have to, and his predecessor, John Arryn, was murdered, and he knew, like because Littlefinger told him it was a lie, that the Lannister killed him. So he knew that they were working in unlawful ways in order to get their interests, whatever. So basically he was there to educate us, his character was there to educate us about the story, because his death was the most important thing that happened in the first book, season. After that, we realized finally that this is not a regular story. This is a story where bad things happen and that we shouldn't expect to good people, and that we shouldn't expect the good people to win.
We were in a Marshal Foley of our own as readers, because we said, okay, Ned dies. You got my attention. Okay, you got my attention. But his son, this is a story.
It's a good story.
It's a great story.
I know this
story of revenge, story of, a son finding himself and his true potential. And
a young wolf
hero.
Father, the sleeper has awakened.
Even after he told us no, we still didn't expect and didn't see the Red Wedding coming. But now
we're wiser.
Now we are wiser.
We paid the price.
Now we're educated.
Yeah.
Let's use that education for our bold prediction regarding Ned-like characters and unrealistic expectations for the story, for the conclusion of the story.
Yeah. I think maybe John will follow his father/uncle footsteps as an archetype character, as a hero character. And we know now, because he taught us, that these kind of things like honor and even loyalty and stuff like that are like shackles. It's like trying to win the game with a hand tied behind your back and one of your eyes is covered.
So you have to play dirty. And John also, they made a point in the last season to tell us, Sansa telling him only a fool trusts Littlefinger, while he is still pondering if he should trust Littlefinger, which was the same mistake that led to his father's downfall. So maybe this could be a recurring theme here, like John being a Ned-like character, trusting Littlefinger and paying some kind of price. So basically the bold prediction is that good is not going to win based on the story so far. So now people are cheering for John, that he's king in the north.
Yeah.
First of all, there are 2 books, so a lot of shit can happen. So maybe he picked too quickly. Yeah. And our reaction for John being crowned as king of the north shouldn't be like, yay, it should be, oh my God, no, what happened the last time there was a king in the north? We should learn from our past mistakes and not continue our Marshal Foley, because your hearts will be broken.
And one that does not know his history is doomed to repeat it. Goofy.
So we as watchers and readers should learn from this history and not repeat the same mistakes. So if you want to share your discovering that Ned has died experience, be sure to mention it in the comments and like our video if you enjoyed it. If you want to support our channel, we have a Patreon page. The link is in the description, or you can just go to patreon.com/GOT Academy. Bye, 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 bye.